Hi everyone, what's up? My name is Stephen Simon. Welcome back to CSharpCorner live show. In this episode of Ask Me Anything series, we have two very special guests joining us from Europe. We have Edward and Luiza. Hi guys, how are you?
Hey, fine. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, pleasure being in this episode.
So Edward and Luiza, you guys come from a UiPath background, right? Why don't you go ahead, starting from Luiza, and you both introduce yourself, and then we will talk a lot more about what's going to happen today.
Well, I joined UiPath 1.5 years ago. I'm a community manager, so my role is really centered around people. So I basically empower people. My job is to take the robot out of the human, so people can actually enjoy their workplace. I joined because I was really curious about the technology, and because UiPath is a Romanian startup. It started in Romania. It was the first Romanian unicorn. I was really, really excited to meet the team and see the legends that brought this to life. So the hype is still there from my side.
I'll surely come back to where what you said is like a unicorn, startup unicorn company from Romania. That is something really interesting. And we have seen in the past how fast and rapidly UiPath has grown globally. We'll surely come back to it later on. Edward, your time, who you are, what you do, and where you're joining us from.
Yeah, so you just said I'm Eduard, so I'll probably repeat it. My name is Eduard Shlepetskyy. I'm in this automation business since 2014. And as we disclosed a little bit in this intro, I am actually in automation business since 19 years old. And maybe I was thinking of how I can contribute to today's session. And my thinking here from community side is all the knowledge I have from the very first robot I made up to becoming MVP for UiPath. Everything was happening thanks for community, because all my education was happening in like open community learnings in forums, etc. And I'd like to leave the message here that like you can do a lot just with patience, and there is no things which should limit you, like, okay, not having education or something about your background, like how rich or poor family you were born at, etc. So I'm in this business since 2014, so since being 19, not this year, I'm UiPath MVP. In the meantime, I also run my own company already for the third year, which is focusing on intelligent automation. And we are serving mainly Europe, but had also some smaller projects in Singapore and around the globe as well. So that's it, shortly.
That's great. I mean, I think being a UiPath MVP would be really great. And Luiza would add to it on how to become a UiPath MVP. What are the benefits that we have in the entire community that UiPath provides? She's going to cover it as we proceed. And in the very beginning, we have said this RPA and UiPath. We have mentioned a couple of times, even in the first 3 to 4 minutes, right? So, Edward, why don't you go ahead and talk about what is RPA actually? I mean, it's been a while in the market. From now, I think from last 3 to 4 years, it has gained a lot of attention, but still relatively it is very new to the market. So what is the first thing that one should think when they hear about the term RPA?
Yeah, maybe I would start with the thing what you should not think when you hear the term of RPA, because it is robotic process automation. And before, I even didn't like the name probably in the very beginning, because you always imagine some machines are doing something, and robotic process automation is something what I imagine that brings you coffee on Saturday, like piece of metal, which can do some mechanical activities. But actually, robotic process automation is about automating software-based processes, so digital processes. And here, what it can do is it can do exactly the same things as you can program, because it's still based on like different platforms are based on different programming languages. For example, with UiPath, there is VB used quite often in a regular studio. So you can use APIs, you can use the application integrations, you can connect to databases, etc., as with any other programming language. But what you get on the top, what is for example, when you don't have a possibility to use API, or there is no API at all, etc., the huge difference and advantage what RPA brings is the integration with UI, with user interface. So whenever you don't have API, whenever you don't have a connection to database, you can still go directly through UI, and you can see how robot actually clicks different objects, etc. The only difference is that it is happening much, much faster than human being would do. And I have a sample, which I would probably broad on the screen, where robot is processing items. It is reading items from Excel and putting it to SAP, but doing it times faster than human being would do it. So let me know whenever my content is visible, and we'll proceed with that demo.
Yeah, I think I have your screen now.
Yeah, so the main thing I want to pay your attention to is that how fast the data are populated. And the only weighting you will see on the screen, here we have 4 screens being processed in parallel. And you only see blinking, and some of the pop-ups are not enough to appear. Because it is interacting on a really high speed with the user interface. You can actually, in this manner, you can automate any digital process. Nor you have API, nor you have a connection to database or not. It is still possible to automate. So probably this is the main difference, how it deviates to all the other types of programming. And one last thing, what is even on the top of it, you have image recognition, you have OCR, and now also there is a computer vision added, which is enabling you to also recognize objects directly on the pictures, nor it is like scanned PDFs, or if you try to automate something inside the Citrix environment. So I think that it is all the basic things which you have with the regular programming, plus things on the top which enables your application to act as a human being.
That's great. That's great. Well said. And when you talk about the UI interaction, you say there's a robot that will be running and will be interacting with the UI. That goes a lot with I think the company name, that is UiPath. One thing to note here is people would often go and say that hey, AI would take jobs, robots would take jobs. But indeed, we have Luiza joining, who works at UiPath, right? So yeah, so I think there's one. Well, how do you both of you see that as we advance in technology and AI, machine learning, bots taking places on what humans used to do, and the example just showed in the SAP, ideally there would be humans who would be employed to go and do that task, but you were able to do that all things simultaneously using the UiPath automation tool, using Studio. So how do you both see these jobs and these robots taking place when it comes to the employment? Any one of you can go ahead and answer.
Thank you. So for me is a collaboration between the human and the bot, which actually the person has the ability to build his or her own bot. So he takes all the tasks that are repetitive, are boring, are redundant from his or her job, automates that, and just to do other things, interact more with colleagues, bring out projects that really value qualities of people. My job is 90% interacting with people and being very human oriented. It has some repetitive tasks, which automating as we go, because we do have also a robot for every person approach now, and we are trying to bring technology closer to everyone, just to make it friendly for everyone to understand that everyone can actually have their own bot. And there's nothing to worry there. It's just like it helps you. It's not there to steal your entire job. It just kind of helps you with some parts of your job. It might be a small part from a daily task. It might be a bigger part from a weekly task, but it's there to help you and support you to do your task better.
That's well said. And I think taking from what you say is a robot for every person. Right, Edward, you can go ahead and add. Then we can actually come out what are the prerequisites if anyone wants to move into RPA, right?
Yeah, maybe one more thing about this robots replacing people, because I think that this is quite a hot topic, especially in the very beginning. Whenever you start any RPA project, you need to overcome it in the organization with setting the right people awareness, etc. But I would compare it, I think it's quite often used sample, maybe boring one, but whenever there were cars introduced after the horses, I think that it still killed some positions, if we would say. Yeah, it still occupied some of the, like back in the past, there were probably more people taking care of of horses. But nowadays, I think that in return, it generated much more positions in car manufacturing, etc. So I would not say that it is going to take positions. I would definitely say that it would change the way of working, the way how we used to work. And for example, as of now, regardless of the size of the company, people should not, you should not have a people employed just for daily full-time copy pasting of activities, but you would have a robot whenever you go for lunch or having a coffee, you would press the button and you would have this work done, but remaining time you would allocate to some more advanced activities. So I would say that it is not to replace, but it is more to kind of shift and change the way how we used to work. And I think that this is already happening. We are not speaking about some far future.
That's great. That's great. So coming back to one of the topic that people would like to know when Luiza says that a robot for every person, and every person can actually have a robot for their own. And as you say that you're going for lunch, you can have a bot doing a job for you, and you're just trying to remove that repetitive task both from a day-to-day life and from the enterprise perspective. What are the prerequisites for any of the person coming? He or she may be a newbie, a new graduate, or someone who has 5 to 6 years of development experience. What are the technology experience and the programming language one should have if he or she wants to move into the field of RPA?
I'm really happy you asked that question, because over the years, like ever with 2015, when we opened the course free trial and started building for the community, we have actually created an ecosystem, because we do want to welcome everyone. We even have 14-year-old kids who start automating from school, and people who reskill or upskill their careers. So there are 40 or 50-year-old people who want to learn a new technology so they can. We have a platform which is called Connect. It's our ecosystem, and basically over there you can find the Academy, which is a catalog of courses, a lot of courses on different types of levels, and they are free to enroll and to go for everyone. So wants to start RPA, you just need to type UiPathAcademy.com, and there you have it. You can start with the awareness, like basic to get into basic, and then move into more difficult to like it. And then we have the forum, which is actually this global virtual community that is there to help you with any type of question you might have. We have product managers from UiPath who are present there and are looking for interaction to people. We have marketplace where, once you go through the academy and start learning, you can go create your own components or projects. You can put them out there. And of course, a part of these, we also have virtual event where you can join and learn or interact with other people. And we also have people like Eduard, amazing MVPs who are there to offer this incredible support to everyone, both in terms of content and also in responding basically on every platform. I think on LinkedIn, on the forum, everywhere, they actually reply and will help everyone who wants to either switch career or just with RPA. And I'm gonna let Eduard talk on the skills, the programming skills that to mix and match that.
Yeah. Thank you, Luiza. I wanted to show the hard side while we were speaking, but I didn't want to interrupt you to don't bother. I think talking of me as an MVP and all the other great MVPs we have, I think that this is minimal payback we can give in return to everything what we have in these great times. So talking of programming skills, I must say that considering now the wide range of products, and especially with UiPath, we will do a little bit later also, I know that we have a topic to speak about different types of students, etc. I'm careful to say that you don't need the programming skills to build a robot. And why I pay attention to this, to build a robot, is because there is a huge difference between building some robot at home or building it for some minor tasks, etc., or building the center of excellence where those robots are able to run unattended, run in the right sequence, etc. So for building robots, you don't need to have any programming skills, and there is so-called Studio X. If you just Google it, you can get it also free, and you can just with simple drag and drop functionalities. There are different API integrations, so you have a help to read from Excel, and you can have a long list of items to be processed, and one by one robot would go and do it, etc. So you have a lot of things already pre-built, but like whenever you are starting in programming, you appreciate a lot these pre-built things. You appreciate all these drag and drop functionalities, etc. Whenever you grow and you become more and more senior, the more you start not hating it, but the more you say, okay, this is so I want to build my own, So for the guys who say that I want to build my own, well, probably I am now one of those. But even if there is sometimes the component, I want to build my own because it's my own, But the point is that for those who like to experience like more advanced things, etc., there is a Studio and Studio Pro even, where you can invoke code, when you can work with APIs, etc., when you can build the custom forms, and so. It is from the very, very beginner, where you don't need to know anything. Somewhere in the middle, I would point maybe people who worked with Excel and macros, because it is not programming, but you are getting there kind of. And then, of course, the object-oriented languages, and you can have also a lot of fun there because the platform is quite wide.
That's great. I mean, one thing when you mention is about the drag and drop. So UiPath does have an approach that says low code or no code approach, right? Where it saves your time. I mean, if I'm a developer and if there's an activity, there's a for loop activity, right? Instead of just going in typing the entire for loop code, I can just search from the activity tab and just put it on my canvas. In the same way, there are many activities, and just the way Luiza said, we have a marketplace where people from the community can actually upload their custom activities, and inside the studio you can actually go and download it. I shout out to Manoj, who's one of our own MVP from UiPath. I really like to use his activity that is called Firebase activity, which is so easy. You just need to drag and drop, add some credentials, and there you go. From UiPath Studio, you can connect to your Firebase database. So it's all about the community. It's about built around the community. And Luiza did mention about the forum. If I'm not wrong, what I have observed that if you post any question in forum, it is answered within 7 minutes. I know I think it might have decreased the time, maybe like 4 or 5 minutes, maybe. But the people in this community are really active. Both it may be a UiPath community, or it may be in the entire RP ecosystem. It may be community in the entire developer system. It may be CSharpCorner. I think one thing that really empowers to a product-based company or this entire ecosystem is the support of the community that we get, and so is Luiza and Eduard doing us today. So moving on to that. Eduard, what should we actually look to automate? I mean, if someone is not working in an enterprise, a company, right? So in a day-to-day basis, in an enterprise company, there are many business processes they look to automate, right? But at the same time, when you run your own company, what's the different type of clients that you get and the different processes, right? You automate and deliver to the clients.
Yeah. So talking of processes which are to be considered for automation, first of all, it is manually repetitive. Yeah, so you are not going for something like one-time automation, but sometimes even this, I must highlight that quite often you do automation even for one time. For example, when you have the system migration or something like that, it is one-time activity. You don't do a system migration hopefully every month or something like that, because it's very effort. It requires a lot of effort, but in the same time, it requires a lot of actions inside, and repetitive actions. So you can do it also with the one-time activities, but rarely, and there are specific cases. Often it should be highly repetitive. It should be a rule-based, and evaluation of the rule-based is, I used to say that the person who executes the process should be able to draw on the paper the way that I, using this paper, would be able to execute it. So that there is no some rocket science steps where people would say, okay, this I know just because of my some previous experience, or the wind speed, or some other things which it is hard to actually know for now. So if it is logical and well structured, this is another thing. Then like digital inputs, it's quite important. So if you have if you have it handwritten, etc. Now we are getting there, and I think that technologies are evolving, and in even months, not years, I must say that I think that it is getting better and better, but still it's highly appreciated if you receive the data in some structured digital format, so you can capture the text 100%. You don't need to use OCR or some other technologies. So digital input, and that's it. And another one is maturity of the process, because if all the things you apply to the process and say that, okay, it is highly repetitive, it is rule-based, etc. One important thing is the process maturity, because if you start automating like 2 months after the process was created, there is a high likelihood that this process is to be changed. And with the change of process, you would need to change the code again and again. So process maturity here means that your process is being executed the same way already for quite some time.
That's great. And when you talk about like different processes, I think Luiza, we do have many courses in UiPath Academy, right? And recently UiPath announced their advanced certification, right? So there was a certification that was primarily free for a long time. People could go and do it, right? So why don't you go ahead and talk a little about different type of certifications, and especially the advanced RP certifications that we have, which is again free till, okay, it was free till 31st March. Oh my, I think I missed it, right? I did miss it. So it was free for a really long time, and now they have another certifications, right? Why didn't you go and talk about that?
I was thinking actually to share the screen to get this into the page for you to see.
Yeah.
Let's see. Share.
Right. So you want more time? you need more time. We can go ahead and talk with Edward till then.
No, I think can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay. Let's. Okay.
Yes.
Now.
Yeah. I think now. Yeah. I think you'd have to move to the other screen, right? You're on the. Yeah. Right now, you won't be able to see yourself now. Yep.
Okay, so I just wanted, because the Academy has gone through some new look, and it's much more fresh. It's much more easier for everyone to learn and to go through the courses. So you don't really have to follow a 30, 40, 50-minute course. You just get like these little pills of knowledge, the way I call them. And they are grouped and housed. But this is start. Like, for example, your first time on the Academy, this is how you start. Everything is here. Everything that you need to know, including some tests, exercises, and so on. Then, it moves a little bit more into product, and then the latest releases. And here you can see it's quite a big catalog of courses. I would definitely encourage everyone to just look and see what is their interest. So if you already know some stuff about RPA, or you're a very good developer, the starter is going to be a no-brainer for you. I mean, it's not a couple of minutes and you'll be done with that. But there are a lot of resources that everyone can access, regardless of their background, professional background. And yep, so I would definitely advise for everyone just go there and scroll through those. There are too many to just sit now and group. Maybe, I don't know, Eduard, if you want to do some recommendations, specific recommendation for the C-sharp community that you think would be of interest for them, like to go directly to the point.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there is now a wide range of products at UiPath, and there is a lot starting from, I don't know, process mining and task capturing, and ending somewhere like Automation Hub, which I think we will get later, what is for managing of the automation. It is more for Center of Excellence managers, etc. But for C# community, it is definitely a studio. So go and check the trainings, which are like RPA developer training, where you get overview of how to use the studio. And it is nothing like, you don't need to spend months on it, but you can get an understanding really in few hours. This is the first thing. And I was thinking, I mean, we are to present it to C# community. And I was thinking, those guys already know how to code many things, etc. And like, what may be the usage of it for C# community? And I think that quite often when hearing C# or .NET, we are speaking about desktop applications, which are still here and there to be tested, right? And I think that with this tool, and especially now with introducing the Pro version of the Studio also, it is so smooth and easy to build a quick robot which would execute for you the test, etc. So you don't need to really bother a lot with coding, and also especially if you need to test also user interface, like how all the button clicks, etc. work. So I think that this is the usage for C#, like how you can immediately start using it even without switching the profile or becoming the RPA developer, etc., but just still being at your job position, but utilizing it. This is one thing. And another I wanted to add to what you, Steve, mentioned is about the certification. So I think that there are two types. One is the diplomas, and another is the certification. So, and I would compare it. One is the knowledge, and another is the proof of knowledge. So, and this proof of knowledge you need to use somewhere, or not for employment, or if you're a service provider, you may show it to your customer, etc. But even what we said, it started to be like not for free but paid one. Even this, you don't necessarily need it. And for your home purposes, as well as your professional programming purposes, if you're doing something for community, etc., you have full version of UiPath, not limited anyhow, for free. This is one thing. And you have all the trainings and all the resources for free also available. So if you pay this extra, I don't know, hundreds dollars or euros, you don't get extra knowledge or something. You get certification, you get the proof that you went through some test, etc. But everything what is needed to become the good developer in RPA, you have for free. You have an academy, you have accessible, and it is still community open, I must say.
And also it's a community edition. So basically everyone who starts learning on the academy, which again, the learning is for free, only the certification, the specific certificate, not the diploma of completion, the certification. We have the community edition. So basically you get to test and build the bot, which is free for individuals, even for companies that have a specific flow of profit, institutions, NGOs, education institutions, and so on. So that is free and will remain free. Just like Eduard mentioned, it's a certification which is needed maybe in some cases for employment of companies and so on. But the entire knowledge, practice, everything, it's for free for everyone.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's entirely free. Most of things come at UiPath for free. The forum, the community, the activity, the studio is entirely free. And we also get bots attended and unattended bot to host on the orchestrator. Eduard will cover orchestrator. And when it comes to certifications, the different job profiles that RPA has brought, like RPA developer. We also have a solution architect course. We also have courses for HR. So people coming from an entire ecosystem, any of the company, they can just move into RPA and get started. Eduard, why didn't you go ahead? We have been talking about this studio for a while and also for the robots. Why didn't you go ahead and talk about the cloud features that UiPath provides, which is actually the orchestrator, where you can actually run your bots on the clouds and work remotely, and also from your smartphones, you can manage all your bots. Why didn't you go ahead and talk a little more about that?
Yeah, sure. Happy to bring that on. So at the very beginning, I was speaking that there are three main components which we assumed about like UiPath from the very beginning, which was Studio, where you build the robot itself, meaning that where the actions are executed, and this virtual robot which is going and clicking everything on the screen. And the third one, when you manage it. And remember when I say that there is a huge difference between like building a robot and building the scalable center of excellence. So what you brought with the cloud features is actually the scalable center of excellence. So if you are to build, and I have the funny sample I did for the Facebook or for the Christmas, if you need to greet your friends, etc., and to send it in many different languages or something like that, you can still use the robot to predefine the messages for you, and then you just add your funny story from the year or something like that. These simple robots, to build these simple robots, you don't need any cloud orchestration, etc. But when there are the processes, and we have some with our clients, when there are the processes with short SLAs or which are to be executed during night, day, 24/7, etc., Then Orchestrator comes into a game, and this is a platform for managing several things, starting with credentials. So it covers somehow the security also. You can store credentials to your applications there, then for different robots, etc. For scheduling, meaning that you can there you can manage the schedule of each and every robot, when to start, in what sequence they have to execute, etc. Queues, and this is very important, again, whenever you imagine that there is a process which is to be executed more than 24 hours a day, meaning that workload is much higher, then 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 robots comes into a game, and Orchestrator ensures that if you work on 100 items, that Robot 1 and Robot 2 will not pick the first item to work on, but they split the work in between themselves, meaning that Robot 1 would take the process 1, Robot 2 the process 2, etc., etc., and they would continue without conflicting with each other. So this is queue management. And last but not least, there is an easy deployment, meaning that once you have the code ready, the robot ready, and you want to spread it along the many different virtual machines or users, if it is a attended type, and we can later speak about those types. If it is, you can spread the solution easily and fast using this cloud orchestrator, because you just publish the package there and it automatically appears in all the environments. You just download it and you are able to use it immediately. So, but again, to highlight, these features are more aimed for large-scale implementations and this so-called center of excellence.
Yeah, and I think one feature that I would personally I use is that whenever I would log into the orchestrator, there's a very nicely built dashboard that I would get. I would see number of bots that are running, what are the processes that's being run, what are the scheduled jobs. So there are things that one should really love, and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to worry your own personal cloud. It may be an Azure, AWS, Google Cloud. UiPath does everything for you, and it comes even with the community version. You can go ahead and get a feel of the orchestrator, and we have one amazing course of orchestrator also in the UiPath Academy. Coming back to Luiza I heard UiPath and the RPA for the first time in January 2019, and one of my very close friends, Vibhor, he introduced many people to us into this community, and a lot of people came to UiPath meetups. Right, and that has been very cool. Even at CSharpCorner, we had local chapter meetups, right? We also do webinars. So somewhere this meetup has played very vital role. Why don't you go and talk about different of meetups that we have? What do we cover, and how should one be able to join that?
I would like to say we cover everything. Definitely. So, because we changed, everything is now virtual. It's a bit different from when you attended the meetup physically. So we used to have meetups locally in cities, countries all around the world, in the US, in Europe, India, APAC, and so on. And they were very localized, local language, local interest. Like, for example, if someone was interested only in the business analyst side, we would go into that. Of course, the core focus is developers, but we wanted to make sure that everyone is up to date and is welcoming the community. Now, since everything is virtually, we sort of lead to regional and global events that tackle subjects of related importance, such as like the testing, the test suits, and everything related to testing, which is now, I think, at the 5th virtual meetup on 25th June. So that's already a new micro community of people that are interested in that. And besides that, we also have the local virtual meetups that are very specialized on what people actually want to learn, to know more, and the way they want to interact. We definitely try to keep the networking part, the interaction part, the feedback, providing feedback, interacting with the product managers or the presenters, and so on. It's been a bit difficult. The in person is definitely more engaging, but we are happy to see that the interest into RPA or virtual meetups has grown. I think there's lots of people are looking nowadays into understanding more, into getting more information. So Yes, virtual meetup now. Virtual are one of the main channels for us to be in touch with the community, to keep offering what they need from us, and keep improving basically the product. That's how we manage to we get the feedback from the people and we bring it better.
I think, yeah, I think meetups were something really, really interesting. You go and get to meet people. You come on weekends, you work from Monday to Friday, even then you come on weekends. And it's not just about sharing knowledge. You connect with people from different organizations, working in the same city and on the same product. You share ideas. We get to meet people from the products team, from the UiPath. They would talk a lot more about the future updates, and there's a lot more. We all have very good memories with the meetups. There's one question I think, Edward, if you would say, is that maybe we can frame it a little well. That is coming from V. Tirumala Raju. He says, how long this RPA will help to get job in the market? I think RPA is anyway into the market, and it has provided a lot of job opportunities to people. But still, when it comes from a developer, it does tell is that he want to understand what are different type of job roles that RPA provides. Right. So maybe Edward, you can talk about the different the job title or the position that RPA provides generally, not just with the UiPath, generally. Yeah. You are an entrepreneur, right? You run a startup for RPA, so even that is one of it.
Yeah. So you can run a startup and run a competition for us, or maybe like partners.
You can run a live show too, right?
Yeah, you can run a live show, start the podcast, but actually, first of all, depends where you are coming from, and still depending where you're coming from, you don't necessarily need to change to become an RPA, expert or something like that, because many people, and especially we've seen it now with this Reboot Your Skills program, they are still being within the same organization when you are currently, and even if you are good candidate to dive into RPA business for two main criteria or options. One is if you are a developer and you would like to create those robots, or the other, if you are doing repetitive stuff. So even if you are on the other side of the game, this is a great opportunity to have a look on Studio X, to have a look on this Reboot Your Skills program, and just to start, automating first your work and then helping colleagues. So this is what it comes when we speak about building robots. But there are other things which are not directly related with code and programming and building, but still supporting actively the RPA movement. And the first main and quite big role is business analyst. So this doesn't require any programming skills, but requires analytical skills, where always before automating any process, there should be someone who first captures it and understands it well. And here, from RPA perspective, we look at the process from a completely different angle, because for human being, imagine you're doing something in Excel and there are 3 pop-ups in a row saying we have to update your system, something else and something else. As a human being, quite often I seen also those samples, we just click OK, and even if you're being onboarded in some companies by some SME, they say, okay, never mind, just click OK, move on,
It does that.
Yeah. This type of things for a robot can be a bottleneck, because we need to know exactly what to do with this or that type of pop-ups, etc. And when we are starting to describe the process, we are realizing, even with SMEs, how deeper we start to understand, challenge this process from different angles, etc. So business analyst is another role when you are able to, without having anything to do with building robots, you can be the one who would bridge SME, the person who executes the task, and developer, because quite often, developers prefer to focus more on this development area, and there is still maybe even communication gap sometimes that you need to bridge these two together. So there is a business analyst who can prepare a great documentation which developer is to follow, as well as clarify all the test data, etc. And then depending on how your center of excellence grows, you would definitely have center of excellence champion, so someone who would manage this all. Sooner or later, you would build more robots, and there will be someone who would steer this robot. So you can become a manager, but not for people, but you can manage robots, and you can see how they're performing, You can scream at some of them or say good words or something like say, come on, speed up, but schedule them, etc. So monitor. And then even the next level, there might be a change management. Yes, so sooner or later, your organization will be affected by this, definitely positively, but still affected the way that you need to adapt. So revision the way you execute the processes, revision the way how you do this or that type of work. And there, change management comes in place where you need a change manager who would help to set it up and document properly. So this is just one of few. We have also architect, and with this, all the new features which UiPath is bringing, we as MVPs, we are concerned taking some vacations or something like that, because if you are for 1 week out of business, you have no clue what are all these new products, and you can always keep up. So there is a process mining, there are a lot of new functionalities which you can also explore and add on to RPA itself and building robots.
That's very well answered, Edward. And I think that there will be, the RP has grown very, very aggressively in past 2 or 3 years, and that there's a lot of job roles available, and there are many more companies coming to the market, and there's a lot of new ecosystem that is being built. Coming back to Luiza, I have one more interesting thing to talk is about the hackathons that we have. Sharing, I'll tell you, Manoj, Sheetal, and one more partner, we won one of the hackathons that happened in India. Manoj and the other team members went on to win another hackathons. We would get prize money. I have a couple of Alexa and Amazon vouchers. So those 24 hours when you stay there and talk to the product teams, that there are people to guide you. You really create custom activities and even upload those to the marketplace, and even the guys from the product team would help to get it published within that time during the hackathon. So that's a lot thing to learn. Maybe people would like to know on how this is being organized and how now they can participate in this virtual hackathon during this pandemic time.
Lovely to hear from your experience. Definitely, I would have liked to hear more of how you felt. We used to have them in person, and I drove some of them in Bucharest, Romania, and I absolutely love the energy around it. Everything that was developed is definitely one of the best experiences I had is working at UiPath. Now we did move virtually. We did have the global virtual hackathon on custom activities. It was a little bit different because it was not just a hackathon, but it was a learning journey somehow, a learning paired with feedback, paired with a lot of conversation between the participants, the teams, and product managers, and people from UiPath. UiPath generating some ideas and challenges, then they sort of training the participants, offering them pieces and all that. So it went on to more weeks, and we had some final results. So definitely we are innovating in the way we make hackathons happen. So it's not just 12, 24, 48, 30 hours, you do it and that's it. For us, it's more about making sure that we engage not the right people, but the people who have the skills, or the people who want to learn the skills and are very, very passionate about building the certain components, certain activities, making sure that we use the winners, the ones that are really going to bring the innovation, going to make everyone wonder, and making sure that we have those for the entire community available there to use, to make take advantage of that and continue building themselves. So we don't have the run going right now, virtual global, but stay tuned. You never know when we're gonna, even though it's not gonna be maybe not the challenge, some sort of direction, again, a collaboration, because again, as we move forward, collaboration more than just giving the challenge, receiving the input. It's not just the collaboration between us. It has always been from the beginning with the community, and we want to like that. Can be the course like this, having them more involved as we go.
Yeah, I think hackathons are something that is really exciting. You get to meet many people. Those 24 hours. It's not 24 hours. Sometimes it goes like 30, 36 hours because you're really excited. You just don't leave the hall after hackathon ends. You want to go out and hang out with all the people you were there for past 24 hours. We have one question from you, Edward, coming from V. Trumula once again. We did answer it, but once again he says that is .NET experience people switching to RPA advisable? Could you please even explain why? I think
Not at all.
you would be. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I mean, maybe a little bit about the specifics of RPA. It is something what is driven by business, or at least on the very beginning, it started to be driven by business. So automation, let's be honest, it was there ages before also. Like, I mean that 20 years ago, there was still possibility to interact. Some SAP modules are 20 years old nowadays, and features of automating it were always there. But IT, who was responsible for bringing those innovations, probably had just different focus. I don't know the reasons why it was not happening earlier, but the thing, the wave of RPA, which is still, I think, growing, is partially and with a big part created with business. So business is driving it. Business is driving this now engagement of more people, etc. And RPA, I would say that this is more also about people, about the collaboration. For example, even if you're the best RPA developer in the world, you can't automate the process without SME, without subject matter expert, someone who would explain it to you, show it, walk you step by step, etc. So as I explained back previously, that there are different types of studio, and we have the ones which, like, you don't need programming, etc. But you have also Studio Pro, where you can invoke the .NET code, C#, Python code, and you can build your objects, reusable components, etc. What RPA gives you as an opportunity is, besides the coding, which I think you experience in many other areas as well, be more engaged with the people, meaning be more engaged with the teams. And also for me, what is the great opportunity as a developer, I saw already plenty of processes in order to cash, in supply chain, in finance, etc. And I mean, all of us are sometimes wondering like how all these big corporations works like. Yeah, so being just a developer, I saw how ordering is working in some company A, how security works in the banking, how some other things are happening, and just because someone needed to explain it to me for me to automate it. So talking of that .NET experienced people switching to RPA, definitely understand also what role you would consider there and why you are switching, because like, what is your main motivation? If you want to collaborate more with people, and not all of these people are developers, so you have different types, etc. Definitely yes, and you then you have a lot of collaboration, a lot of also funny discussions, etc. So this is one of the big differences, I would say, classic programming, not .NET or Java, etc., towards RPA. That I think that there are much more people and much more engagements from different levels. So shortly answering questions, definitely worth considering, and then depending on understanding of the priorities.
Yeah, and I think when Trumula says that you have a .NET background, when we talk specifically with the UiPath, it's built on VB.NET, and there's now also support with the C#. So definitely, if you have a .NET experience, moving into RP is not going to be any tough for you. But as Edward says, you have to look on what type of role you are looking for, because you come from a .NET experience background. You don't want to go and get started with a .NET developer, right? You are at a senior level now, so maybe you want to be maybe think and understand on maybe be a part of a team initially, and understand how the processes are being automated, and then eventually you can go ahead and move into RPA. So we are already 48 minutes for live. We have last 10 minutes, and I think I just felt it was like first 10 minutes or something. Okay, so we will. One question to Edward is like, these days, we have heard about the automation, right? But people are nowadays also talking about hyper automation. You go to any of the RPA company website, people have now started talking about hyper automation. So what is this hype within hyper automation? We were just somehow, right, absorbing all this automation, new services, and the platform that were coming, and now it is again hyper automation. So why don't you go ahead and talk a little more about it?
So hyped automation, hyped automation, hyper automation. So talking of hyper automation, and we just had an episode published yesterday about this, partially covering an operating model. The main thing is that on the very beginning, you were focused on automating exact process. Yeah, so you build a robot. Then you build a robotic center of excellence. The second stage, when you have more robots still dealing with your repetitive tasks and rule-based, clearly defined, digital and well-structured input, etc. So this is the first level. And then with hyper automation around already this existing robots, or while building, you wider the scope. When I say wider the scope, I mean you're adding new technologies, and new technologies to make robots smarter on one hand, so more advanced, and we all speak about AI, machine learning, deep learning, etc., OCR, NLP, and adding integrations to this extent of more advanced robots, where you don't need anymore just to feed the perfect field Excel form and it would be processed by a robot, but you can also drop the different templates of order form or something like that, which robot never seen before. And just by using intelligent data capturing, it can recognize, okay, this is the invoice number, this is address, this is items that customer is ordering, etc. So I think that on technology level, on one side, getting more advanced with widening the robot capabilities with all these features I described. And on the other hand, there is also a human factor, which is making the preparation for RPA also easier with the process mining, with the task capture, meaning that people have less effort and less pain to prepare and automate later this process with the easy click-through tools, and then it builds end-to-end platform, which is called hyper automation, when you can do all this wide range of activities on the one hand, and on the other hand, there is a way of executing. So when we are speaking about different types of robots, back in the past, we were speaking also only about attended or unattended, meaning that you could choose if you will be interacting with the robot on the screen or it will be executed on the background. Now we have this new concept of human in the loop, where actually robots, whenever they face the task which needs to be solved by people, they just send a notification to your phone or in orchestrator, and they move on. They don't wait for this response. They move on and process other tasks on. And if you check it regularly, like every hour or every, 4 hours or something like that, with your phone, you can solve those tasks, and a robot would realize that, okay, you solve it, and then pick it up and move on. So now we have this kind of also hybrid mode when robots and humans are collaborating closer, and it is not necessarily attended when robot is waiting for you to immediately respond and not doing anything.
That's very well answered. So I think adding the capabilities of more powerful technology and AI and all that would surely build a seed for this hyper automation. Surely not an hype. I've seen people did talk about that. Hey, RPA is just a hype, but we have seen that it does solve problems of a day-to-day and in the enterprise. Of course, I think hyper automation is something people would like to know in the coming time. I think we are now almost let's time to wrap things up. So right, one last question that I would ask Eduard, then I'll come back to Luiza once again. Right, is Eduard, you said you have been into this RP from last of 5-6 years, starting from 2014, right? You as a developer, and when you work on this automation, what are the challenges, right? What are the challenges that you face during the development of a pod that you would like to people who would like to move into the field of this RPA?
I think that from the very beginning, moving into a new field, regardless if it's RPA, C#, or riding horses, it is hard on the very beginning, yeah. And there is this climbing the first peak. I think it's always quite hard. So I would say that the very first advice, just build your first robot. Think before what it should do, whatever. It can be a Facebook robot, it can be a robot dealing with some daily tasks or whatever. Think about it upfront and try to build your first robot. And when you hit the first complications, remember what Luiza was saying about the forum and short response time, because if you drop it, first of all, probably someone already had this problem and you can just find the answer there. If not, you just drop the question and you would get the response really fast. And so maybe for starters, I would definitely recommend to be part of community, not just to build, not the aim is not just to automate the processes, but you as an MVP, and also before, when getting to this point, I feel as a part of a family, So my message to whoever would start with RPA, be a part of this family, and then everything is much more easier. You have plenty of reusable components. We have things which you guys built on hackathons, etc. We have a lot of things already available. So I'd say that be a part of the family. This just quite maybe generic thing. And then in different aspects, you would face different issues, in coding, and also with dealing with people, like clarifying the processes, etc. But I think that it is worth another session, another 1 hour session explaining all of this. But if I am to give one advice to people, I would say that be a part of family, be a part of community. It pays back a lot.
That's well said. Adding just more to it, I would come back to Luiza, is that we have talked about different programs that this RPA community provides to connect, but the time has changed. Everything is getting virtual. What should be the call to action to the people who are watching and who will be watching us later on if they want to connect with the community? I mean, we at CSharpCorner do have plenty of resources. There is a category of RPA separately, where you will find RPA not just with UiPath perspective, but from documentation, articles, code snippets from the entire ecosystem. But coming from you, Luiza, what should be the call to action after someone watches it to go and connect with the RPA community?
I would just say go make an account on Connect UiPath, because there you have the ability to forum, to the academy, to people that you can message directly if you see something that's interesting, you can message them. And also the latest platform that we launched, which is specifically for UiPath community events, the Meetup. And you can actually find all the meetups that we have, whether they are global or in others. Join that and make sure that you participate, because I think that the meetups are the greatest way to get all the information in 1 hour, and at the end you get the possibility to ask whatever it is on your mind. Everyone will answer. If the speaker does not answer, someone in the chat will answer. And just like Eduard mentioned, whatever question you might have, the forum is the number one place to go. I am on the forum, so questions like how can I participate in the hackathon, or how can I become a community builder, start a meetup, start a chapter, I can answer that. Also, people in UiPath are there. So go to Connect, make an account, browse through everything, and just feel free to approach us on LinkedIn, on Slack community, UiPath, on Connect, forum, everywhere. And it's like where you are in the journey, and we'll say, okay, here, participate at this meetup, which is exactly what you'll need to know, and or okay, I'm gonna put you in contact with someone who definitely knows how to help you.
Yeah, and I think, Edward, you would surely like to mention the podcast that you run, but I have shared the links in the comments. Maybe a couple of moments you can just talk about that, and then just will wrap it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much. So talking of the podcast, as an MVP, I decided to create an initiative when I would gather the knowledge from another, because we are 20 for this year, from another 19 MVPs when we are covering different topics, starting with some more business related, like operating model or people awareness, and later going deeper into development standards, etc. So automatioниmpact.io is the website, and there will be more and more new episodes coming. This is one thing. And one thing I just wanted to add to what Luiza said is the thing of that, where to start, the call to action. I would say just start. So just do the first steps, and then we have so great community that it would move you through, and just start. Is like, don't overthink, don't be concerned if you have the right skills, etc. Just try it.
All right, great. So I think before we just wrap, let me talk about the next AMA that we have coming is on Saturday. It's Automate Machine Learning Low Code with Amy Cage, the Cloud Developer Advocate. It will be on 9:30 a.m. Eastern Pacific time zone. So I'll see you there next time. Having said that, Edward and Luiza, we had a great time with you. I, Stephen Simon, on behalf of entire CSharpCorner and its millions of users would like to thank for your valuable time and the contribution that you have made to the community. It was an honor to have you both, and would love to have you back whenever you guys are available next time.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure, and hopefully we'll meet everyone on our community, like global community.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you
very much, and thank you very much. And yeah, feel free to connect. Also, you have our contacts and the LinkedIn profiles, etc. So we are open for discussion and to help you to do these first steps. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much.